And let's kickstart this special edition. The top story we're tracking on Mirror now. Ahead of the upcoming monsoon session, the Lok Sabha secretariat has issued a new set of rules flagging over 50 words as unparliamentary. We're talking about words like ashamed, abused, betrayed, corrupt, jumla jivi, bal buddhi, COVID spreader, and other words will be expunged if used in Parliament. The new rule book created an uproar. The opposition parties, including the Congress and the TMC, have decried the Lok Sabha Secretariat directive, saying that all these terms illustrate the realities of the Modi government and these terms have been flagged or restricted. Meanwhile, amid this uproar, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla has clarified that no word has been banned and the Secretariat or even issued a compilation of the words that have been expunged in the House previously. The Speaker also said that words chosen for expunging have been used by members of the ruling party as well as the opposition, and he also asked the politicians not mislead people.
कोई अनएथिकल या ऐसा कुछ डेरोगेटरी स्पीच नहीं है। तो जो वर्ड्स अभी बीजेपी का खिलाफ एप्लीकेबल है, वही सारे जो वर्ड्स है ये भाजपा डर से उनका ऊपर लगाम लगाना चाहता है।
वो जो एग्जिस्टिंग अब हमारे पास किताब है शब्दों का, कैसा प्रयोग करना, क्या करना, उसको छोड़ के अगर ये करना चाहते हैं तो ये ठीक नहीं है। हम उठाएंगे, बार बार बोलते रहेंगे, वो बार बार निकालते रहेंगे, देखेंगे।
I think this gag order, this list, revised list of unparliamentary words.
The BJP, RSS are determined to gag parliamentarians. Parliament is being undermined. Look at what has been happening. Now you're talking only about words. What has been happening for the last so many years? In the last session, in the monsoon session, 27 bills were passed. Average time of the bills was just 9 minutes. In 7 years, Prime Minister Modi...
All right, for more on this, I'm joined by my colleague Madhav on the broadcast, who will help us understand why such a decision has been taken and the clarification that followed that the words have not been banned. Madhav, thank you for joining us on the broadcast. For the benefit of our national audiences, could you take us through the reasoning why these over 50 words have been, as you rightly said, flagged and have been called unparliamentary, and what happens if an MP uses them in the upcoming monsoon session?
Well, first and foremost, the most important aspect to remember is that this has caused a huge political flutter today, with opposition parties saying that they are not able to voice their grievances, take the voice of the people who've elected them to power and raise that in Parliament. They say that what is the point of being an MP if one is not able to express dissent or disagreement with the policies of the government? That's what Parliament is meant for. And that perhaps is a position that one can understand. But what the government is saying, and we saw how the Speaker had a press conference this evening, they have said that this practice of codifying what are unparliamentary words or language is something that has been in practice since the 50s, when the very first book of a list of unparliamentary expressions was brought in. Since 2010, it has subsequently been revised every year. Before that, it was revised on regular intervals. And what really is done in a sense is that from the other parliament that exists in Commonwealth countries, the words that are used there, for instance, expressions in the Australian or the New Zealand parliament, they find their way over here into this list, and also expressions that are expunged in other assemblies. What is being said by the ruling party is that there are expressions, for instance, in non-BJP ruled states assemblies, such as Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan and even Punjab, which have in fact been included in this very list. So if anyone is responsible for it, then it is those particular state governments which have sent those lists in the very first place. And it is not done by any political operative. It is done by the bureaucrats, the officials of the Secretariat of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, who sit down. The Secretary General himself, in fact, is the chief of that committee, and it is therefore decided as to what really is the rule, what really are the expressions that in fact would not be allowed. Secondly, it is something that applies as much to the ruling party as it does to opposition. In fact, some of the banned expressions or flagged expressions, if I can put it that way, are in fact what the ruling party has said in the past on the floor of the House. Now, the procedure is very simple. If any member says something that is unacceptable to others, then he can appeal to the chair to expunge that particular comment. The chair can look at the context in which that comment has been made and then decide what action is necessary. No action is taken on members of parliament ever for the kind of expressions that they use. But yes, if they have in fact used an expression that is unacceptable or in fact is used in a context which is deriding of a person or an institution, then the chair can then decide to go ahead and expunge that particular comment. That's a process that has always been followed in parliament, is what the speaker is saying, and therefore it is wrong to put out that the government is anyway targeting the opposition just ahead of the monsoon session. It's a list that also the secretariat says was brought out in 2021, so it's wrong to say that something new has been imposed, but nevertheless it has caused a huge amount of flutter. And with opposition parties already trying to corner the government on issues such as Agniveer and other matters, this is one more issue now on which they are going to try and corner the government in the upcoming monsoon session.
All right, thank you, Madhav, for getting us those updates. And as a lot of people have cited that this is not the first time. In the past as well, certain words were expunged. In fact, in 1966, words like corrupt and corrupt man were expunged. Ayogya, incompetent, dishonest, shame, cheating, all these words have been censored, slashed, flagged, banned, prohibited in the past. So we'll have to wait and watch what really happens, because come Monday, the monsoon session is all set to begin, and we'll have to wait and watch how our MPs choose to use their words, because at the end of the day, they are the elected representatives of this country, of the people, and how and which way do they send across a message in Parliament is very, very crucial. Shifting focus to another big story of the day is Sri Lanka. Now, after claiming for a safe passage out of the crisis-hit Sri Lanka, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has finally sent the letter of resignation to the Speaker. Now, Gotabaya Rajapaksa has vowed to step down by Wednesday, but he had not done so. Earlier in the day, he reached Singapore from Maldives' capital on a Saudi plane. While the island nation slips into more chaos, the former Lankan president was on a shopping spree today. Now, the Speaker of Parliament has received the letter, and let me tell you, the Lankan Parliament was to convene tomorrow. Now that Gotabaya has stepped down, the nominations for the presidential election will begin, and the voting will be held on July 20th. Reports say that Gotabaya's search of safe haven will continue, and he might go to Jeddah next. On the other hand, Lankans who are amid this crisis were seen celebrating his exit, and the visuals on your screens are of Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who was seen at the Changi airport in Singapore, and after reports of his resignation, the protesters were seen celebrating. Now, amid the crisis, the Sri Lankan soldiers have been authorized to use necessary force to prevent destruction of property and life as the protest rages on in the country. Earlier, protesters who've been occupying the government buildings vacated the space. Meanwhile, a curfew has been imposed in Colombo till 5 a.m. on Friday.
We see how people's power was able to outset this tyranny of Rajapaksa, because he's a president who had 2/3 and also president who had executive powers and president who wanted to reign the whole country. But people's power, united power, citizen struggle was able to push him away from the country, and this resignation is a real victory of the citizens of Sri Lanka, citizen struggle of Sri Lanka.
So that is the latest that we are getting for you. The visuals on your screens are of celebrations. Remember, it's these people who had overrun the presidential palace, then laid siege to the Prime Minister's office. But just today, all the protesters said that they will vacate the public property, the government properties, and now the reports have been confirmed that Sri Lankan president has resigned, following which these celebrations have broken out. I'm joined by Srinjoy on the broadcast. Srinjoy, a lot is happening in Sri Lanka, beginning with the fact that the Sri Lankan president has resigned. He's in Singapore at the moment, but Singapore has denied providing him with any sort of asylum.
Yes, the Singaporeans have made it very clear that the visa is a short-term visa. It's a transit visa. So nobody really knows where he's going to go after this. The important point to note is that Gotabaya Rajapaksa, after showing signs, or at least his staff showed signs that he was going to Dubai, he was going to India, he went to Singapore. And then he has asked for a transit visa or a short-term visa. And this is something which is a mystery. Nobody knows what he's going to do at the moment. And that is the big question. Is he going to Saudi Arabia, as people are saying, to Jeddah? That is something we'll have to wait for.
All right, thank you, Srinjoy, for those updates. Now, earlier today, my colleague Priyank, who's getting all the updates from Sri Lanka, got us this report from the Sri Lankan capital, Colombo, where the army troops were seen patrolling on the tanks of the roads. Take a look.
Yes, certainly unprecedented move by the Sri Lankan army to deploy tanks, and we are chasing these tanks which are patrolling on the streets of Colombo. And look at the visuals. These are the army commandos who had faced acute problem, because of no instruction being given to them to, use forceful means on the protesters. But the fact of the matter is that there have been a series of attempts by these protesters to attack on the armed personnel. They kept on throwing bottles and everything. And since army personnel were also facing problem to control the crowd, and soon after there was a clear instruction which was given by Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is the interim president of Sri Lanka. Now the army personnel have been brought on the ground along with with these tanks. We have been reporting from several locations in Colombo, and this is the area in and around the parliament, because yesterday we saw that the parliament was also attempted to be at siege, and there were, violent clashes which broke out in between the protesters and the defense personnel, for which Pankaj will show you. Look at these MPV tanks, which can also, enter inside the water, and they can also swim through in the worst of the condition.
Now, leaders failing to discharge their duties, providing basic amenities to the people of Sri Lanka, including food, fuel, medicines and security. But amid all this, there is one chair that seems to be grabbing the attention of everyone. Now, visuals that will come on your screens are of the Prime Minister's chair in his office in Colombo without the Prime Minister. And you can see the number of military personnel who are guarding the chair, while just outside on streets there is complete civil unrest. Moving on, India's first case of monkeypox has been reported in Kerala. A traveller who arrived in Kerala 3 days ago from the UAE was hospitalised after he showed symptoms. Now, the traveller's samples were sent to National Institute of Virology in Pune, which have now come positive. The condition of the patient is stable.
Pox positive case is reported, and he is a traveller from his UAE. He reached the state on 21st of this month, 12th of this month. So he arrived at Thiruvananthapuram airport, and all the steps according to the guidelines issued by WHO and ICMR are being taken. And the health department, government of Kerala, has also issued guidelines on monkeypox. So at present the patient is quite stable, all the vitals are normal.
All right, so there you heard Kerala's health minister there giving details of this patient who has tested positive for monkeypox. Remember, this is India's first case of monkeypox, which has been reported from Kerala. A traveller who arrived in the state 3 days ago from the UAE was hospitalised after he showed symptoms of monkeypox, following which the traveller's samples were sent to NIV Pune. I am joined by Vivek on the broadcast for more on this. Vivek, the details that have emerged so far suggest that the patient is stable as of now. What can you share with us more on this first case of monkeypox?
Yeah, this is the first monkeypox case that's reported in the country following Europe and Africa, where it was a number of such cases has been reported. This particular person had arrived in Kerala on the 12th of July, and he had followed all the norms, the protocols, health protocols, and because he had been associating with a person who's been affected with monkeypox back in UAE, and that's the reason why he had symptoms. He had a fever, he had body pain, and also he had, small moles in his body. There were red-colored, rashes in his body, and hence he had clear symptoms of, monkeypox. And while he came here, he had interacted with his parents and his family members, and after that he was admitted in the hospital. As of now, his condition is stable. Now, the government has indeed sent advisory to the public, about this particular, disease, and has also clearly said that, people who are showing any kind of such symptoms should report to the nearby primary health center or the nearby private hospital. Remember, this is the first such case that's been reported in the country. Remember, even during the COVID times, it was the COVID cases was first reported in Kerala back in 2020, the month of February, from when students from Chinese universities in China had come here. Those were the first cases. Now, even monkeypox has been reported in Kerala, and that too, the first case in the country. The person is stable as of now. He's admitted in the Thiruvananthapuram Medical College. We understand that a central team, a health team, will be sent to Kerala from Delhi to look to ascertain the condition on the ground. Also to assist the state health department on the various precautions that needs to be taken, the various steps that needs to be taken from here on. Because even though monkeypox spread from human to human, it actually originates from animals, wild animals. It spread to human beings, and it's spreading through fluids. But however, the death rate as far as monkeypox is concerned is very less. But yes, there are serious conditions of fever that's been reported. It is something that needs to be taken of utmost care. The health department really has said advisories as far as this issue is concerned. From tomorrow onwards, we expect more advisories that will be sent, and more samples are expected to be sent to the Pune Virology Institute. Because now that the person has been associated with his family members, we can expect even their samples to be sent to the Pune Virology Institute. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Vivek, for those updates. So India reports its first case of monkeypox, and this is from Kerala. Moving on to another heartbreaking piece of news that we are getting from Karnataka. This is where a 23-year-old kickboxer, Nikhil S, died during a state-level tournament which was held on 9th and 10th of July in Bengaluru. The victim's father has filed an FIR against the organisers of the event and has accused them of negligence during the tournament. As of now, the investigation is on. However, the organisers are absconding. The victim's father received a call on 10th of July that his son was injured during the competition and was taken to hospital. But later, when the kickboxer was shifted to Manipal Hospital, he was declared brought dead.
नवीन जो किक बॉक्सिंग एथलीट थे उनकी मृत्यु गई और इसकी वजह जो है किक बॉक्सिंग एसोसिएशन है और उनके जो प्रेसिडेंट है उनके खिलाफ एफआईआर दर्ज की गई नेग्लिजेंस अंडर सेक्शन 304 का किया गया है। पिछले इस महीने 9 और 10 तारीख को किक बॉक्सिंग एसोसिएशन की तरफ से टूर्नामेंट था, स्टेट लेवल टूर्नामेंट बेंगलुरु में पाई इंटरनेशनल बिल्डिंग में 5th फ्लोर पे ये ऑर्गेनाइज किया गया था। और उनका मानना है कि जो नवीन जो है जो मैसूरू में ट्रेन कर रहे थे एक एकेडमी से, वो उस दिन आए 9 तारीख को किक बॉक्सिंग एसोसिएशन ने पार्टिसिपेट किया। 10 तारीख की शाम 6 बजे उन्हें कॉल आया किक बॉक्सिंग एसोसिएशन से कि आपके बेटे का इंजर्ड हुए हैं मैच में लेकर और उन्हें हॉस्पिटल ले गया गया है। जब वो पहुंचे तो उनको बाद में पता चला कि उनकी मृत्यु हुई है, जिससे जो वीडियो आप देख रहे हैं जिसपे वो मैच हुआ, उन्होंने कहा कि नेग्लिजेंस हुआ है, वहां पे कोई मेडिकल प्रैक्टिशनर प्रेजेंट नहीं था, उसी चलते उन्होंने एफआईआर दर्ज किया है। उनकी मृत्यु बाद में जब मणिपाल हॉस्पिटल ले गया गया उनको, तब उन्हें बताया गया कि उनकी मृत्यु हुई है। इसके चलते उन्होंने एफआईआर दर्ज किया है किक बॉक्सिंग एसोसिएशन के खिलाफ। जो जिनके खिलाफ एफआईआर दर्ज है वो भी अब्सकॉन्डिंग है। डीसीपी वेस्ट के अंडर ये मामला दर्ज हुआ है, वो उनकी पुलिस उनकी इंक्वायरी इन्वेस्टिगेशन में है और जो जो एसोसिएट नाम लिखा है एफआईआर उनके अगेंस्ट उनकी तलाश में है।
Welcome back. Nearly 15 lakh students will appear for the Common University Entrance Test for undergraduate courses that begins tomorrow. The scores will be used by colleges under 90 universities for admissions to undergraduate courses. The test will be conducted from July 15 to August 10. The first phase of the exams will be held on July 15th, 16th, 19th and 20th. The second phase is scheduled for the month of August from the 4th of the month till the 20th. Now, ahead of the exam, the Delhi University Vice-Chancellor has said that maximum flexibility has been given to applicants to exercise options for admission in the courses of their choice. Now, candidates have applied for 54,555 unique combinations of subjects across 90 universities. The UGC chairman has also clarified that students from state boards will not be at a disadvantage in the new system, and the exam will not give a push to coaching culture. And this is a very big story that we are tracking. Now, students appearing for Common University Entrance Tests say that the delay in release of the schedule has left them with very little time to prepare for what will decide their future. And lack of clarity about the exam pattern, they say, has also been a concern.
For me to manage, because there are a lot of subjects that we have to study. There is not like one subject or two subjects. There are 8 subjects that I have to appear in for the CUET exam. And also deleted syllabus is also present in the CUET exam. We have to study again because the term 1 syllabus was completely different from the term 2 syllabus. And we have to again study the term 1 syllabus and term 2 syllabus. So that is very difficult.
The syllabus has been changed 3 times already, and now even that the syllabus is furnished, now we have it with us, but still the questions in mock test are out of God knows where, and still if you read their site, they will tell you that you need to pertain to the syllabus that we have given to you, but actually they are not prescribing to it. Moreover, they have just allotted the dates to us, and many of them are having dates on 15th of July. Just 4 days before the exam, that's not enough for them to prepare.
बहुत ही प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रहे हैं बच्चे, क्योंकि अभी तक कोई क्लियरिटी नहीं है, मतलब सब्जेक्ट्स में, और सिलेबस भी चेंजेस होते रहते हैं अभी.
First of all, the syllabus is not clear. Then it is like that deleted syllabus is also added that we have not studied in class 12. So that is the main problem. Now we have to take additional coachings for that. So 15 July से start हो रहे हैं. And अब उन्हें जाके inform करें like 4 days before. तो उनके लिए manage करना कितना मुश्किल होगा. It is for the first time that it is being conducted.
Moving on, Karnataka expert panel on national education policy implementation has submitted its recommendations for the overhaul of the school curriculum. As part of the recommendations, the state's NEP panel has submitted its latest position. Now, the panel has discouraged the serving of eggs and meat in midday meals. The paper also said that eggs, flavored milk, biscuits should be forbidden to prevent obesity and hormonal imbalance in children. According to the paper, eggs and meat could lead to lifestyle disorders and can also result in complexes, leading to emotional distress in children.
A lot of the research shows that, a balanced diet is very important, diversity is very important, and especially for children, nutrient-dense foods are very important. They need energy because they burn a lot more calories and they're growing at a very rapid rate. And just, giving them cereals and millets is absolutely not adequate because they need proteins, they need vitamins, they need minerals, and they need good quality of that. And all of those come from animal source foods, like whether it's milk, dairy, eggs, cheese, the fish, the chicken, all the red meats. And that is what the science says. And traditionally, people have been eating that. So for you to come and say that this is our culture, again, to kind of homogenize India's culture and say that Sattvic is Indian culture, it's a very casteist kind of approach because you're reducing, people's identity to one homogeneous culture.
All right, so this is the latest that we are getting for you as far as that NEP paper is concerned. Now, apart from the dietary changes, there are proposals to include Manusmriti. There are proposed chapters on Hindu kingdoms. The paper also suggests introducing philosophy of Ayurveda in schools. It says trim down Eurocentric concept of science and history, prioritize ancient India's contribution in all fields, include concepts from Arthashastra, Mahabharata, and the paper also opposes translation of Indic names to Roman and English. It highlights inadequate coverage of genocide of Malabar Hindus and highlights inadequate coverage of Kashmiri Hindus. I'm joined by Neha on the broadcast. Neha, this paper has made some suggestions that have not gone down too well, whether it is the dietary proposals, whether it's about food, midday meal, or whether it talks about the content, the introduction of highlighting aspects from Arthashastra or genocide of particular communities, and Manusmriti. Remember, Manusmriti has been a very, very strong point of contention. For the benefit of our viewers, could you take us through these suggestions as far as the national education policy is concerned?
Well, absolutely, Archana. Every state, today, of course, is submitting their recommendations to the centre about the national education policy. And Karnataka, too, has submitted 26 position papers. Now, each of these papers, in fact, talks about different aspects of different subjects. The first one, in fact, that stoked a controversy was the one that mentioned Hindu genocide to be taught in schools, apart from also, debunking the Pythagoras theorem and Newton's apple theory as well. Now, again, for a second time, we're seeing that a position paper that was submitted on health and well-being too has stoked a controversy now, with several nutritionists slamming the, panel or slamming the group that's in fact submitted this position paper, as it's gone on to sort of discourage the use of eggs and meat in midday meals. It's imperative to mention that, for long now, nutritionists in the state of Karnataka have been batting for the introduction of eggs in meals, and after a long drawn battle, we saw how eggs were introduced in a few districts. In fact, Karnataka was one of the first states that introduced eggs in midday meals, in few of the backward districts. So today now, this position paper being put forth with recommendations to sort of discourage egg and meat, really, of course, going on to contradict the stand of the government here. So what's important now, of course, while the technical aspects of this, of course, would be taken care of ultimately by the committee, this has drawn the ire of nutritionists, of educationists as well, who've gone on to question why a propaganda out here, is in fact being propagated to school children at such young ages. So the final recommendations, of course, would only be assessed by the central NEP panel, and a call would be taken on what really needs to be, served to the students today, or what really needs to be taught to the students today. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Neha, for getting us those updates. Moving on, fact checker and Alt News co-founder Mohammad Zubair has gone to Supreme Court seeking cancellation of 6 cases filed against him by the UP police. The plea also challenges the constitution of the SIT by the UP police. Remember, on Tuesday, the Supreme Court had extended his interim bail in a case registered in Sitapur, which accused him of hurting religious sentiments. The co-founder of Alt News had told Supreme Court that he was receiving death threats. For more on this, I am joined by Nilashish on the broadcast. Nilashish, the last time when Mohammad Zubair got relief from the Supreme Court, he was still in jail, and now he's moved court again, asking for all cases to be cancelled against him, because there are several cases in UP that have managed to keep him behind bars. What more can you tell us about the latest petition that's he's filed in the top court?
Well, as far as his plea in the Supreme Court is concerned, of course, Mohammad Zubair has sought that all the FIRs, there are 6 of them, be quashed as far as UP is concerned. 6 FIRs in Uttar Pradesh itself. He has sought that they be quashed, and he also has challenged the constitutionality of the particular SIT that has been formed in order to probe against him in terms of this particular case. Now, let's not forget the Hathras court also remanded him to 14 days judicial custody. In addition to that, the Supreme Court has granted him interim bail, but that is conditional, and that is no real relief. It is more academic. However, As far as Delhi is concerned, also there's an FIR against him wherein he has moved a bail plea, and today, in fact, the court has reserved its order, and they will be pronouncing their order on his bail application tomorrow at 2 p.m. So there are a number of avenues wherein Zubair needs to find a way out as far as bail is concerned. But with his particular plea in Supreme Court, he has sought for the quashing of these FIRs. He has challenged the constitutionality of the SIT, and therein we will still wait to see when the Supreme Court actually takes it up and what the court says about it. But as of now, he continues to be in judicial custody, given the fact that the Supreme Court, in its interim order earlier, has stated that he will continue to be within the jurisdiction of the court.
Thank you, Nilashish, for those updates. Moving on, in what comes as some relief for the common man, petrol and diesel prices have gotten cheaper in Maharashtra. The state government announced fuel tax cuts to the tune of 5 rupees a litre for petrol and 3 rupees a litre for diesel. Now, Chief Minister Eknath Shinde said that this move will cost the state government 6,000 crore rupees a litre. Remember, the centre had cut the excise duty on fuel in May and had asked states to follow suit.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी विपक्ष में रहते वक्त एक भूमिका लेती है और सत्ता में आने के बाद उसको जुमला कहती है। ऐसे अनंत उदाहरण हैं, उसके में एक कड़ी और जुड़ चुकी है। यही भारतीय जनता पार्टी जब विपक्ष में थी तो महाराष्ट्र विकास आघाड़ी सरकार से जो पेट्रोल और डीजल के ऊपर राज्य सरकार वैट लगाती है उसमें 50% कटौती करे ऐसी मांग कर रही है। इसका मतलब यह है कि पेट्रोल के ऊपर 32 रुपए 55 पैसा जो वैट था उसमें 16 रुपए 28 पैसे कम किए जाए और डीजल के ऊपर जो 22 रुपए 37 पैसा वैट था उसमें से 11 रुपए 19 पैसे कम किया जाए, ऐसी मांग थी। अब हम पूछना चाहते हैं उस मांग का क्या हुआ भारतीय जनता पार्टी के?
हे लोक विरोधी पक्षात होते आणि आम्हाला मागणी करत होते की राज्य सरकार जेवढं पेट्रोलला आणि डिझेलला टॅक्स लावतो तो 50% करा। जर मग तो 50% करायला त्यांनी आमच्याकडे मागणी केली होती, आता त्यांचं सरकार आलं मग त्यांनी का नाही 50% केला? 50% केला असता तर माझ्या माहितीप्रमाणे डिझेलची किंमत 11 रुपयांनी कमी झाली असती आणि पेट्रोलचा पण जो टॅक्स आहे त्याच्यात पण पेट्रोलची किंमत साधारण 17 का 18 रुपये त्या ठिकाणी कमी झाली असती।
तो ऑफिस को जाना आना डेली है हमारा, तो फ़र्क तो ज़रूर पड़ेगा क्योंकि रोज़ का यूज़ है। तो अगर कम हुआ है तो अच्छी बात है।
5 रुपए हुआ है तो यही एक्सपेक्टेड था या और एक्सपेक्टेड था?
नहीं, अभी वो कैसा है, कम हुआ है यही अच्छी बात है क्योंकि 2-3 सालों से बढ़ रहा है यही सुन रहे हैं। तो पहली बार कम हुआ है तो अच्छी बात है।
फ़र्क तो पड़ेगा मैम, लेकिन और कम होना चाहिए। इट शुड बी 80-75 बिकॉज एवरेज पीपल कैन नॉट अफोर्ड दिस मच अमाउंट ऑफ कॉस्ट। सो उसके ऊपर बहुत सारी चीज़ें डिपेंड है, तो वी शुड डिक्रीज और कम करना चाहिए सो दैट एवरीवन कैन ट्रैवल इजीली।
हमारे लिए एक आम आदमी होने के नाते हमारे लिए तो बहुत बड़ी राहत है। अगर किसी बंदे की 12 से 15 हज़ार सैलरी है और वो पेट्रोल का अगर 3 रुपये भी पर लीटर कम हो रहा है तो बहुत बड़ी राहत है।
ज़्यादा फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता है सर हम लोग के लिए, क्योंकि प्राइस इंक्रीज़ होता है तभी भी मतलब एवरेज हमारा जो है दिन में 10 रुपये का फ़र्क पड़ता है, उससे ज़्यादा फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता हम लोग।
आपको क्या उम्मीद है सर सरकार से कि कितना कम होना चाहिए?
एटलीस्ट बिलो 100 रहेगा तो ज़्यादा बेटर रहेगा। बिलो 100 से हम लोग को काफ़ी फ़र्क पड़ सकता है, मतलब कि एवरेज हर हफ्ते में नहीं बोले तो 200 से 300 रुपये फ़र्क पड़ ही जाएगा। ये 5 रुपये से ज़्यादा फ़र्क तो नहीं पड़ेगा।
Moving on, downward spiral of the rupee continues as it hits another record low. It's inching closer to the 80 rupee per US dollar mark. Rupee today hit a record low of 79.91 against the dollar. However, it recovered by 7 paise by the end of the day.
Yes, with the rupee touching an all-time low of 79.9, almost touching 80, we had an exclusive conversation with the Finance Secretary TV Somanathan, who told us that there are certain limitations to which the rupee can be managed and controlled. We had seen some measures from the RBI, but the Finance Secretary told us that this effect that we are seeing is basically not due to the rupee weakness, but due to the dollar strengthening, which is a global phenomenon that we are seeing. So if we compare rupee with the euro or the pound, there has been no change in the exchange rate, but this phenomenon is being seen only related to the dollar because we are seeing the US interest rates on a high, inflation is high, and thus there is pressure on the capital account, and thus money is flowing out. And because expectation is further on the hike in interest rates in India, because of which we are seeing this particular phenomenon. He also said that current account deficit may not rise that much if the exports increase. If we are able to increase the exports, then current account deficit may not be impacted. Also, speaking on the fiscal deficit, he did tell us because of the increase in revenue in both direct and indirect taxes, there is an expectation that it's unlikely that they will exceed the borrowing for this financial year. Thus, fiscal deficit, they will be able to manage within the targeted 6.4%. So there are two big things that he told us. One, on the fiscal deficit and borrowing, which they will manage, which will not increase because of the kind of GDP growth that we are seeing. So though the expenditure will increase, but they will manage the fiscal deficit. Also, on the rupee, he said that there are limitations to which it can be managed and controlled. But however, this is not a rupee weakness phenomenon. This is a dollar strengthening factor that we are witnessing.
All right, let's get to the latest as far as the march of the monsoon is concerned. Heavy rains continue to lash several states like Gujarat, Maharashtra and Telangana. In Maharashtra, IMD has issued orange alert for Mumbai, while in Gujarat, the situation continues to remain grim. Now, states are taking precautions amid incessant rains. In Gujarat, continued rains have led to flooding in Navsari and Surat. Areas adjacent to Navsari have been marooned. Navsari is one of the worst hit districts with over 18,000 people affected there. The Indian Coast Guard deployed choppers and rescued 6 stranded people in villages near Kaveri River in Navsari district. They were trapped due to flash floods on the bank of the river. Now, rains continue in Valsad and some villages are flooded in Vadodara also. Gujarat government has said that so far 43 people have lost their lives due to the monsoon fury. 27 state highways have been shut due to safety issues. Gujarat government has said that they will compensate the flood affected after conducting a survey. All right, I'm joined by Amit on the broadcast. Amit, बहुत-बहुत शुक्रिया जुड़ने के लिए. हालात अभी भी सुधरे नहीं हैं गुजरात में. क्या आप हमें ज़्यादा जानकारी दे सकते हैं कि अभी भी वो कौन सी जगह है? नवसारी एक जगह है जहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा नुकसान की खबर आ रही है, पर बाकी और कौन से क्षेत्र हैं जहाँ पर नुकसान हुआ है और किस तरीके के कदम उठाए जा रहे हैं प्रशासन द्वारा?
जी बिल्कुल, देखिए बहुत धन्यवाद. और सबसे बड़ी बात मैं हमारे मिरर नाउ के दर्शकों को मिरर नाउ के माध्यम से बताना चाहूंगा कि ये आज जो नवसारी जो है वो एकदम ये कहा जा सकता है कि जिस तरह से पानी का वहां पे जल प्रलय आज देखने को मिला है. नवसारी के साथ साथ वलसाड़ जो एक ऐसी जगह है, वलसाड़ में भी ये सारी चीजें आज देखने को मिली हैं. और उसी वजह से आज प्रशासन ने नेशनल हाईवे जो है अहमदाबाद और मुंबई को जोड़ता हुआ है, वो तकरीबन 50 किलोमीटर की रेंज में बंद कर दिया था, क्योंकि उस हाईवे के ऊपर पानी आ गया था. साथ ही साथ जिस तरह से एनडीआरएफ लगातार रेस्क्यू कर रहा है, लगातार लोगों की जानें बचा रहा है, और ये वो लोग हैं जिन्हें लगातार प्रशासन की तरफ से कह दिया गया था कि आप निचले इलाके में रहते हैं, आप अपनी जगह को छोड़ दें, और उसके बावजूद वो लोग वहां पर थे. तो ये सारी चीजें चलती रही और आज पूरे दिन प्रशासन जो लगा रहा कि विशेष तौर से गुजरात सरकार और स्वयं मुख्यमंत्री भूपेंद्र पटेल हों या रेवेन्यू मिनिस्टर राजेंद्र द्विवेदी, वो लगातार ये सारी चीजों पर वो नजर रख रहे थे. और साथ ही साथ गुजरात सरकार के जो गृह मंत्री हैं हर्ष संघवी, वो भी इन चीजों को मॉनिटरिंग कर रहे थे, क्योंकि वो सूरत से आते हैं. तो लगातार ये सारी चीजों को मॉनिटरिंग किया जा रहा था. सबको रेस्क्यू किया गया है और गुजरात सरकार का जो सूत्र है जीरो कैजुअलिटी, तो उसके तहत आज भी काम किया गया. हालांकि नुकसान बहुत सारा हुआ है, लेकिन सरकार ने पूरा काम किया है. एनडीआरएफ ने किया है, कोस्ट गार्ड ने किया है. और उसके साथ मैं बताना चाहूंगा, जो गुजरात का सौराष्ट्र वाला जो इलाका है, जहां पे गिर सोमनाथ जिला, अमरेली की मैं बात करूं, पोरबंदर की बात करूं, उसके अलावा द्वारका की बात करूं, जूनागढ़ की बात करूं, राजकोट की बात करूं, यहाँ पर बड़ी क्वांटिटी के अंदर रेनफॉल जो है वहां पे हुआ है, क्योंकि वहां भी रेड अलर्ट दिया गया था और उस रेड अलर्ट के हिसाब से वहां पे भी बहुत सारी बारिश हुई है। वहां की नदियां जो हैं वो उफान पे हैं। साथ ही साथ वहां पर एनडीआरएफ की टीमें, एसडीआरएफ की टीमें अभी डिप्लॉय की गई हैं। कुछ ऐसे गांव हैं जो नदी के पास से जुड़े हुए थे, वहां पर लोगों को हटाया गया है। वहां अभी परिस्थिति कंट्रोल में है, लेकिन ये बात स्पष्ट है कि जिस तरह से आज ही मॉनसून विभाग ने फिर से कहा है कि आने वाले 2 दिन जो हैं वो गुजरात के लिए बहुत ज्यादा भारी हैं। ईस्ट गुजरात और साउथ गुजरात के जो इलाके हैं वो रेड अलर्ट पे हैं और सरकार मुस्तैद है। देखना यह है कि 2 दिन में कितना रेनफॉल होता है और क्या लोग जो है रेस्क्यू कितने किए जाते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी सरकार अपना काम जो है वो लगातार कर रही है। ये 2 दिन के बाद में ये अनुमान किया गया है कि बारिश जो है वो गुजरात में कम होगी और उसके बाद परिस्थिति जो है वो फिर से ट्रैक पे आएगी। जी
जी अमित, शुक्रिया ये जानकारी देने के लिए। और जैसा कि आपने कहा कि आने वाले दिन काफ़ी अहम है गुजरात के लिए। We'll have to wait and watch what transpires in the coming days. Likewise, the situation in Maharashtra is also grim. There is a red alert in Palghar, Nasik and Pune, while an orange alert has been sounded in Mumbai. Maharashtra cabinet held a meeting to review flood situation in the state, and Chief Minister Eknath Shinde has said that NDRF and Indian Air Force have been kept on alert with the possibility of heavy to extremely heavy rains, asked officials to keep the emergency services on alert. Mumbai University, meanwhile, has cancelled exams as a precaution. In Pune, all schools have been shut, while in Mumbai, schools are on wait and watch mode. All right, let's shift our focus to story number 8 in Tamil Nadu. Jaya legacy war has taken an uglier turn. In the latest, AIDMK General Secretary Palaniswamy has sacked 18 supporters of O. Paneerselvam, including OPS's 2 sons, Lok Sabha MP O.P. Ravindranath and Jay Pradeep. And in response to that, O. Paneerselvam has sacked 22 members from AIDMK, including E. Palaniswamy. In the official letter, OPS referred to himself as the AIDMK coordinator.
தன்னிச்சையான முடிவு. எடப்பாடி பழனிசாமி அறிவிக்கின்ற எந்த அறிவிப்பும் கழக சட்டப்படி செல்லாது என்பதை தெரிவித்துள்ளார்.
So this is the latest interesting developments there. The fight for Jaya's legacy getting uglier, with both EPS and OPS sacking each other's supporters. EPS, they're going ahead and sacking OPS's sons, while OPS has gone ahead and sacked EPS. This might seem like a very twisted tale, but this is the reality of Tamil Nadu politics at the moment, where the key opposition party AIDMK is witnessing the ugliest tussle for powers. Dharini joins us for more. Dharini, when we last spoke, EPS had removed 18 members, 18 supporters of OPS from AIDMK's primary membership. Now, OPS has gone ahead and removed 22 members, including Mr. EPS. What is happening in the AIDMK?
Well, there's never a dull moment in AIDMK politics. So around today evening we reported that Edappadi Palaniswamy has removed 18 people from the primary membership of the party, including OPS's 2 sons, that's O.P. Ravindranath and Jay Pradeep. So now moments before we got another statement from O. Paneerselvam telling that he is removing 22 persons from the primary membership of the party, including EPS. So this also includes other former ministers such as C.V. Shanmugam, Thangamani, Velumani, D. Jayakumar, etc. Totally 22 numbers. So this looks like a very interesting turn of events, because both these leaders, EPS and OPS, they are removing each of the supporters from the party, and both of them are fighting to own the party at the end. So both of them want to have a control over the party, and they are just trying to remove each of the supporters from the party by using different letterheads. But at the end, only the court or the Election Commission of India, they will be able to decide who owns the party actually. So that process is long pending and it's currently going on. But anyway, at this point in time, interesting turn of events are coming, coming across in every minute, and we are looking both these leaders trying to, showcase their power in front of each other by removing each of the supporters from the party's primary membership. So I know OPS has also gone ahead and told that EPS's actions is more like a dictatorship actions, and that whatever EPS is doing will not stand in front of the Election Commission of India or the Supreme Court or the Madras High Court. So he is telling that whatever EPS does is not legal as per the party's bylaws, and he's also gone ahead and told that he's registering complaints with the Election Commission of India on daily basis regarding Edapadi Palaniswamy's actions that are allegedly against the party's bylaws. Also, we'll have to look forward to the further developments as this story is a developing story. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dharani, for those updates. And as you started this conversation, you rightly said that there is never a dull moment in Tamil Nadu politics. Let's move on. Let's talk about famous Punjabi singer Daler Mehendi, who's been arrested and handed a 2-year jail term by Patiala District Court in an 18-year-old human trafficking case. The singer was on bail as he had appealed before the trial court order, and Daler Mehendi has now been taken into custody and will be sent to Patiala jail. This is the latest. The visuals on your screens are of Daler Mehendi being taken away by the police. He's been sentenced to 2 years of jail term in a human trafficking case. All right, for more on this, I'm joined by Gurpreet on the broadcast. Gurpreet, now that we know that Daler Mehendi has been sent to 2 years jail, what is the nature of allegations against him, the charges? What is he accused of exactly?
Well, that there was a clear-cut charges against Daler Mehendi, that he was facing charges of human trafficking, and we have seen that around 15 years earlier, the case had been registered by Patiala police when some complainant, they had approached the Patiala police saying that they had given a promise they will be settled abroad, and neither the money has been returned by Daler Mehendi as well as his brother Shamsher Mehendi, and nor they are being settled by Daler Mehendi abroad. So keeping in view of that, the FIR had been registered, and we have seen that serious charges had been leveled against the FIR, and including the cheatings also, including the human trafficking angles also. After that, we have seen the charge sheet has been produced in the court, and in 2018, Daler Mehendi was convicted and sentenced for the 2 years, and he had appealed against that decision in the court. But today we have seen that had been turned down by the court, and court had upheld the decision for sentencing him for 2 years. And now what we have learned that after conducting the medical examination in local hospital Patiala, he has been sent to Patiala jail.
All right. Thank you, Gurpreet, for these updates. Moving on, amid the massive controversy that's erupted over Virat Kohli's lean patch, Kohli has been rested for the 5 T20s against West Indies to be played from July 29th. Rohit Sharma will be leading the squad for the upcoming series. This comes on the heels of BCCI chief Sourav Ganguly, who had weighed in on Kohli's poor performance. Remember, he said that Kohli has been a great player and knows his own standards and has to find his way back to success. The BCCI chief also added that poor form is a part and parcel of the sport, and that many others like himself, like Sachin Tendulkar and Rahul Dravid, have been in poor form at certain phases in their career.
सर विराट कोहली जो है, विराट कोहली को वेस्ट इंडीज़ टीम से उनको फ़िलहाल रेस्ट दिया गया है, तो उसके ऊपर एज अ प्लेयर, एज अ व्यूअर आपको क्या लगता है
सर? एक्चुअली विराट कोहली के बारे में बोलना ही कुछ गलत है, क्योंकि वो ऑलरेडी लेजेंड है, तो उनको रेस्ट दिया है या उन्होंने खुद ने रेस्ट लिया अभी तक समझा नहीं है, बट मेरे तरफ से उसको खेलना चाहिए।
तो सर आपको लगता है कि उनको जो रेस्ट दिया गया है उस वजह से कोई कुछ इम्पैक्ट पड़ सकता है टीम वेस्ट इंडीज़ में जो टूर्नामेंट होने वाला है इस पर?
हमें इम्पैक्ट तो कुछ पड़ नहीं सकता है, बट एज अ प्लेयर उसको मतलब टीम यूनिटी जो जैसे रहते हैं सीनियर प्लेयर, तो उसको खेलना चाहिए वो टीम में।
ओके सर, विराट कोहली के ऊपर आपका क्या कहना है? उन्हें रेस्ट दिया गया है वेस्ट इंडीज़ के टूर के लिए।
विराट सर के लिए मतलब कुछ बोलना ही गलत है, क्योंकि वो इंडियन कैप्टन है और लेजेंड है बहुत, तो उनके बारे में कुछ बोल नहीं सकता फिलहाल कि आउट ऑफ फॉर्म है या फिर रेस्ट दिया है, वो टीम जो कमेटी रहती है उन्होंने लिया है, बट विराट सर को ऐसा नहीं, और सब क्योंकि सबको विराट को देखने का।
All right, moving on to the story that's breaking the internet. Indian Twitterati went into complete frenzy after former IPL chairman Lalit Modi made a startling disclosure. He took to his social media page to announce new beginnings with former Miss Universe and actor Sushmita Sen, and also called her his better half. When speculations arose over their possible marriage, Lalit Modi clarified that they're only dating each other. The actor, however, is yet to make any announcement. No details have emerged on when the couple began their relationship. However, the photographs on Lalit Modi's social media page suggest that the two knew each other for a very long time.